would the Jags be the right team for Foles?
Yeah, and everyone knew this was going to happen. Of course, the Jags need a quarterback. Blake Bortles isn't good enough. Even those stats, which make it seem kind of unflattering to Nick Foles, right? Like, that's not that much better than Blake Bortles. But Blake Bortles is sort of the tipping point. He's really like a bubble starter, great backup level player, right? So if you do marginally better than him, that's good. That's what you need. You need a marginal difference on an every down basis, and that's Nick Foles. And then under pressure, how's Nick Foles? How does a team function when Nick, by the way, offense and defense, how do they function when Nick Foles is their quarterback? The whole team functions better.
Yeah.
And we've seen the Jaguars in recent years, a couple of years ago, in the playoffs, and they had a shot. You know, they could have maybe won the Super Bowl. Look, swap out Blake Bortles that year with Nick Foles. Maybe they win the Super Bowl. Like, I kind of, looking back, if you could replay that season and Nick Foles is their quarterback.
Which one?
Yeah.
You're talking about AFC Championship?
Yeah. Oh, who did they lose to?
Patriots.
Right?
But they were up in that game, too.
Now put Nick Foles in the game. What do you think? And now you give him a running back who can do a lot of things. You have a solid but unspectacular receiving core. And a running back you can run play action and do all the kind of the things that simplify it for him, like when Peterson's lauded for the kind of plays he calls when Nick Foles is in the game. This is the right quarterback for also, even in terms of the ages. Look at the ages on the defense, the running back. These are young veteran players who are ready to win under the right circumstances. Nick Foles is 30 years old, in his prime. They had the cap space. It's the right team at the right time.
I think it's the move that makes the most sense for everybody, I'm sorry, especially the Jacksonville Jaguars. When you look at yourself, you were one game away, one quarter away really from being in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and then you're last in the AFC South because you're 5-11 because you have a quarterback who can't do things that normal starting quarterbacks can do in the passing game. Here's the thing that scares me though, Max. That didn't make Leonard Fournette not want to get on the field, not want to practice, be on time for meetings. It didn't make TJ Yeldon on a second down not be up watching the offense play because he's the third down back. It didn't make a defense that was close to the tops in the league 2 years ago not be able to stop a nosebleed many times when we saw them on Sunday. And so those are things that Tom Coughlin is going to have to get fixed. Now, if you're Nick Foles, you look at yourself and you say, okay, where have I been most successful? It's been with the Philadelphia Eagles, and we're taking away the 27-2 year, right, with Chip Kelly. Take away that year. Just look at what he was able to do with Doug Peterson. Who knows a little bit about that? John DeFilippo, who's going to be the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville. So you want to go to a place, if you're Nick Foles, where you're successful. You don't want a Jeff Fisher type year. You don't want your second year under Chip Kelly. You don't want those things to happen because those questions will creep in if you become the Nick Foles that wasn't the guy that played at the end of the season in Philadelphia. Go ahead, Steve.
Ryan, the only reason I wanted to interject is because you're the football expert. You're the Super Bowl champion. I wanted to go before you, so I wanted you to piggyback off of that because it's not really any place for me to go once you break it down. Let me say this to you. My position is that even though I don't have any problem with Jacksonville being that team, because we understand why in terms of Blake Bortles being absolutely awful, certainly demoralizing the team. You go 3-1, then you lose 7 straight and 10 of your last 12 games to end the season. It was horrific. But to piggyback off your point about the Philadelphia Eagles, that's why my position has always been, what about the Washington Redskins? Your leading receiver was Jordan Reed with 558 yards. We all know that was a product of not having anybody to throw the football. Alex Smith goes down with that nasty leg injury against the Houston Texans, okay? I was watching that game. It was a really, really nasty injury, all right? Then after that, you know, you got to go the route of Colt McCoy. He goes down. Then you got this kid Johnson, you know, and then it got to the point where you had to put Mark Sanchez in there. Mark Sanchez admitted he didn't even know most of the dudes' names on the roster, for crying out loud. That's how bad it was, to the point where the Redskins were basically looking for somebody off the street to come and be their quarterback. So you got Doxson, you've got Reed, Adrian Peterson had a relatively decent year. Your defense is decent, not great, not awful, but decent enough where if you could be something better than the 29th ranked offense, all right, and you had something better than the 28th ranked passing attack, you could do some things if you're the Washington Redskins. And why would Nick Foles be ideal? It's in the same division. You excel with the Philadelphia Eagles. You're accustomed to what those other teams do. You know what the Eagles want to do. You know what the Cowboys want to do. You know what the Giants want to do. You've gone against teams within this division. So my belief was if you go to the Redskins, you might find yourself in a better situation because even though you might be a talent for that particular team, you might be able to do more for them than you would do for anybody else. To that you say what?
Well, you look at what he had with Doug Peterson. They wanted him out of the AFC East anyway.
NFC, yeah.
The NFC East anyway. And so if you look at the Washington Redskins and you think about where they'll be, right? You have Alex Smith, who has a long-term contract, a guy you don't know if he'll be back on the team this year or if he'll ever be healthy. I think that team is going to go the route of getting a quarterback in the draft. One, if Alex Smith is there, you know he's on his way out anyway. And if he's not there, you try to groom and have a guy with Colt McCoy that can run an offense. But if you're Nick Foles, this is a better place for you because they've had more recent success. You don't want to go to a team like the Washington Redskins where Jay Gruden might be on his way out, where you can see some changes in the executive realm of this team. Right now, if you look at Tom Coughlin, he's entrenched in Jacksonville. This is a team you know that can show up on defense because they have the pieces and they have a running game with a coach that is familiar with you and the things that you do well. I believe that's why this is the right choice for Nick Foles and also the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Let me throw one more possibility out. I understand the NFC East, and as a Giants fan, I think if there wasn't a Haskins probably available to the Giants, I'd say, hey, try to move Eli. You can't unload him. Bring in a guy like that. But what about staying with the Philadelphia Eagles? I understand the arguments against it. Nick Foles wants his own team. Were I the Eagles, were I running the Eagles, I would sit down with Foles and Carson Wentz and say, guys, I know this isn't the way it's normally done. Carson, you're on your rookie deal. Nick, we can pay you right now. We just won a Super Bowl, and we made a hell of a shot at a title defense. We won a road game against the Bears. We almost won one against New Orleans. Guys, this is working. Why break this up? Why do we have to be like everyone else? Let's do it this way for a minute. See how it goes going forward. It's working for us.